Let's start with a disturbing truth most men aren't ready to hear. The more you chase her, the more she runs. The more you open your heart, the faster she slips away. And when you treat her like a queen, she begins searching for another kingdom. You've been told to be kind, loyal, respectful, to give without holding back. Yet all it bought you was silence, rejection, or the friend zone. The brutal reality is this: modern dating doesn't reward men for being endlessly nice. It rewards men who stand firm, who don't fold, who refuse to make her the center of their world. Not because women want cruelty, but because what comes too easily never feels valuable. What you've been offering as love, she's been feeling as weakness. And that's where everything starts to shift, because this isn't about blaming her, it's about awakening you, about seeing clearly why your kindness has been mistaken for need, why your effort has been overlooked, and why being the good guy has left you invisible. So let's go deeper. Because the first reason she pulled away is the one every man needs to face. Nice guy isn't a high-value man. Before we dive in, like this video and subscribe to Stoic Station to stay grounded in truth. And I want to hear from you. Drop a 1 in the comments if you kept giving hoping she'd stay. Or a 2 if you've decided to only give when it's earned. Now lean in, because what comes next will rattle the way you see yourself as a man. Reason number 1. Nice guy isn't a high-value man. You did everything you were told a good man should do. You were thoughtful. You were generous. You stayed up late to talk, rearranged your schedule to see her, and never missed a chance to remind her how special she was. But instead of bringing her closer, she pulled away. She said you were sweet, but distant, kind, but not what she was looking for. And now you're left in silence, questioning how love could slip away from someone who gave everything right from the start. The hard truth is this: she didn't reject your kindness. She rejected the energy behind it. She didn't feel like she was meeting a man who had a strong sense of self. She felt like she was meeting someone hoping to be picked. Most men confuse being agreeable with being attractive, but attraction doesn't grow from approval, it grows from value. And value doesn't chase, it doesn't overextend, it doesn't beg for recognition. You were never wrong for being good, but being good without boundaries is not strength, it's submission. And no woman wants to feel like she's dating someone who needs her approval to feel like a man. Deep down, she doesn't want to be put on a pedestal before she's earned it. She wants to feel inspired by your standards. She wants to earn your attention, not be smothered by it. A man who respects himself never overpays for connection. He gives what is earned and nothing more. That's what separates the nice guy from the high-value man. The nice guy believes effort alone guarantees love. The high-value man knows that love is a reflection of mutual respect, not a reward for overgiving. When a woman senses that your actions come from a place of hoping to be validated, she starts to feel like she's in control. And the more control she feels, the less desire she feels. Not because she's cruel, but because polarity fades when there's no challenge. Being valuable doesn't mean you stop being kind. It means your kindness has strength behind it. It means you lead with clarity, not need. So if you've been the nice guy all your life and still end up overlooked, it's time to change the question. Don't ask, why won't she choose me? Ask, why am I offering myself to someone who hasn't proven she deserves me? Because that shift, the shift from seeking approval to standing in self-worth, is exactly what we'll talk about next. Reason number 2, certainty kills the spark. She was drawn to your silence, your stillness, your presence. In the beginning, you didn't explain yourself. You didn't overshare. You weren't trying to impress her. You were simply living your life, and she was intrigued by the parts of you she didn't yet understand. That uncertainty wasn't a flaw. It was the very thing that sparked her emotional investment. But the moment you tried to replace that mystery with comfort, the tension vanished, and with it, so did her desire. You thought expressing your feelings constantly would make her feel secure. You told her how much she meant to you, how excited you were, how ready you felt. You shared your thoughts freely, your availability endlessly, your affection without pause. You believed that kind of transparency would deepen the connection, and maybe for a moment it did. But slowly her curiosity faded. The excitement became routine. What once felt electric now feels expected. Certainty feels safe to you, but to her, it can feel like a closed loop with no mystery left to solve. She no longer has to wonder where she stands, what you think, or how you feel. And while that might sound like a good thing, the truth is that emotional engagement isn't born from predictability. It's born from contrast, light and shadow, presence and absence, closeness and distance. When there's nothing left to uncover, there's nothing left to chase. You're not wrong for wanting to be honest, and you shouldn't play games or manipulate. But what you must realize is this: emotional attraction is not maintained by constant reassurance. It's kept alive by space to wonder, to anticipate, to feel. When a woman knows everything you're about to say, she stops listening. When she knows exactly how you feel at all times, she stops feeling. That's the paradox. What makes her feel emotionally alive is not having every answer, but sensing that there's more beneath your surface she hasn't reached yet. Let her miss you. Let her wonder. Not because you're trying to trick her, but because you're protecting the polarity that creates passion. You don't have to reveal every emotion the moment it arises. You don't have to respond within minutes. And you definitely don't need to narrate every inner thought to prove you care. Real connection doesn't come from oversharing. It comes from presence, stillness, and the confidence to hold space without filling every silence. Because the spark she once felt for you didn't come from what you gave her. It came from what you made her feel within herself: curiosity, tension, wonder. So if you're feeling the shift, if she seems colder now that you've opened up more, it's not because you did something wrong. It's because the polarity broke. But here's the good news: it can be rebuilt. And it starts with doing less, saying less, and becoming more. Because the man she remembers is the one she couldn't quite figure out. And that's exactly where we go next. Reason number 3, attention without standards is emotional junk food. You want to show her you care, so you double text when she doesn't respond. You like every post, even the ones she ignores you in. You send compliments hoping one might land. Your heart's in the right place, but your energy isn't. You believe you're offering love, but what she feels is weightless attention, given freely, with no boundaries, no calibration, no standard. And deep down, that doesn't feel flattering to her. It feels disposable. She can feel it when you're pouring energy into her that she hasn't earned. At first it may feel good to her ego, but it quickly becomes noise. There's no friction, no threshold, no signal of value, and when attention has no edge, it loses its weight. She starts to sense that you're not giving because you truly see her. You're giving because you don't want to lose her. That shift, though subtle, changes everything. You stop being the man she respects and start becoming the man who tries too hard to matter. Most men confuse availability with effort, but women respond not to the quantity of your attention, but to the quality of your standards. When you give too soon, too much, too often, you condition her to see your energy as background music, always playing, always present, always ignorable. That's why she stops replying as often. That's why your effort starts to feel invisible. Not because you're not trying, but because your attention is coming from impulse, not intention. Attention is a form of currency, and like any currency, the more you print, the less it's worth. That doesn't mean you should withhold affection to manipulate her. It means you should understand that your energy has value, and it should be protected like something rare. You're not doing this to punish her. You're doing this to protect the integrity of your presence. So instead of reacting to every moment she goes quiet, pause. Instead of flooding her with words when she hasn't given you effort, wait. Instead of giving more to get a response, give less and make it matter. Let your silence carry the same weight as your words. Let your absence sometimes remind her that you're not always available unless the connection is mutual. When your attention is earned, it becomes sacred. When your energy is rare, it's remembered. Don't be the man who gives endlessly hoping she'll finally notice. Be the man who gives intentionally, knowing his time isn't cheap, and neither is his love. Because the moment she realizes your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee, everything shifts. And that shift leads us directly into the next truth she won't tell you, but always feels. Reason number 4. Validation makes you weak in her eyes. You think she'll like you more if you're agreeable, if you never ruffle feathers, if you check in constantly to make sure she's okay with everything you say, if you apologize quickly for thoughts that were honest but made her pause. You call it being emotionally available. You tell yourself it's maturity. But to her, it feels like something deeper is missing. A spine, a core, a sense of inner ground that doesn't shift every time her mood does. Every time you look at her hoping for reassurance, her admiration fades a little. Not because she wants you to be cold or distant, not because she doesn't appreciate vulnerability, but because she can feel when a man has no internal compass of his own. When you filter every sentence through, "Will she like this?" or "Is this too much?" you're no longer speaking truth. You're performing for approval, and eventually that performance becomes exhausting to watch. You were not meant to audition for love. You were meant to walk in it with conviction. Women may say they want a sensitive man, and that's not a lie. But sensitivity without strength becomes fragility, and fragility leads to testing, because whether she realizes it or not, the moment she senses you need her validation to feel confident, she begins to push, just to see how far you'll bend. And you do bend. You agree with things you don't believe in. You compliment when you're unsure. You stay quiet when you should speak. You shrink every time she pulls back. You think silence means you've done something wrong, so you chase clarity, thinking it will buy security. But all it does is expose that your confidence only exists in the reflection of her response. Real leadership in a relationship doesn't come from dominating. It comes from being unshakable, from having your own vision, your own pace, your own values, and not needing someone else's applause to walk in them. When a woman sees a man rooted in who he is, she may challenge it, but deep down she respects it. And that respect becomes the foundation of lasting attraction. You don't need to stop being kind, but you do need to stop diluting your voice just to be liked. Speak as a man who's already accepted himself. Act without the need to be approved. Love without begging for love in return. Because the moment you stop asking her to validate your worth is the moment she starts seeing it clearly. And from that place of quiet certainty, we move towards something even more powerful, where presence replaces performance and energy speaks louder than words. Reason number 5. Women are wired to chase power, not pity. You thought being open would make you stand out, that by sharing your fears, your past heartbreaks, your struggles with confidence, you'd show her you were different. And for a moment, maybe she appreciated it. Maybe she said it was refreshing. But soon after, she began to pull back. Not because she didn't care, but because she started to feel something no woman wants to feel early in a connection, like she's responsible for your emotional survival. When you reveal too much too soon, she doesn't interpret it as closeness. She experiences it as pressure. You're not just opening up, you're offloading. And while vulnerability in a man can be powerful, it has to be delivered from a place of strength, not a cry for help. When she feels like she has to carry your emotions, stabilize your self-worth, or make you feel enough just by being there, her attraction doesn't deepen, it collapses. She's not your healer, she's not your savior, and when she senses that you need her to feel valuable, something deep in her instinct recoils, because no matter how much society romanticizes vulnerability, attraction is still built on polarity, and polarity is built on presence. When your emotions start spilling out before she's built trust in you, she doesn't see intimacy, she sees instability. It's not your honesty she's rejecting, it's the unspoken message behind it. I need you to hold me together. That's not love, that's emotional dependence. And that dependence turns her from lover to caretaker, not because she wants to, but because your energy demands it. And no woman wants to stay in a dynamic where she feels like she's parenting the man she was once drawn to. You don't have to be stone cold to keep her respect. You just have to be solid in your own center. Emotional maturity isn't about silence, it's about sovereignty. It's knowing how to hold your experience without bleeding it onto someone else. It's expressing what's real without making someone else responsible for fixing it. The most powerful man in her eyes is not the one who hides everything. It's the one who owns everything and still moves forward, still chooses his path, still shows up grounded, even when life shakes him. So if you've ever opened up and watched her drift away, don't assume she was shallow. Understand what she felt, then shift. Don't close your heart, strengthen it. And from that place, we'll talk about what truly captivates her attention, not your emotions, but your direction. That's where desire lives next. Reason number 6. Your purpose turns her on, not your texts. She didn't fall in love with how often you texted her. She fell in love with the energy you carried when you were focused on something bigger than her. It wasn't your emojis or sweet messages that pulled her in. It was the momentum in your life, the direction in your eyes, the quiet certainty that you were going somewhere with or without her. That's what made you magnetic. That's what made her lean in. And the moment that momentum dies, so does the attraction. A man without purpose becomes a man without gravity. When your attention shifts from building your mission to obsessing over her responses, when your sense of value starts rising and falling based on how fast she replies, you lose the core of what made her desire you in the first place. She stops seeing you as someone she can trust to lead. She starts seeing you as someone she needs to manage. And no woman wants to feel like she's guiding the man who was supposed to guide the path. Masculine energy is movement, it's vision, it's the discipline to wake up with goals that don't revolve around her approval. And when she sees that your ambition disappears just because she's paying attention to someone else or being distant for a few days, she feels it. She might not say it out loud, but something in her instinct shifts. She stops leaning in, because the current pulling her toward you no longer exists. You've replaced forward motion with emotional dependency, and that doesn't turn her on. It wears her down. You don't need to cut her off. You don't need to act cold, but you do need to stop orbiting her. She was never meant to be your center. She was meant to be a witness to your growth, not the reason you stopped growing. When she met you, you had your own gravity. You had hobbies, structure, dreams you were building regardless of whether she stayed or left. That's what made you attractive. That's what gave her the sense that being near you meant she was stepping into something bigger, not dragging you out of emotional limbo. When a man is locked into his direction, he becomes unshakable. His mood doesn't swing with her texts. His identity doesn't crumble when things feel uncertain. And because of that, she feels safe with him, inspired by him, pulled toward him without knowing why. So if you've been wondering why things changed, Why the excitement faded? Ask yourself, did you stop walking your path the moment she stepped into your life? Did your purpose take a back seat to your desire for closeness? If so, it's time to reverse that, because a woman doesn't want to be your whole life. She wants to be part of a life that's already in motion. And when she sees that fire return, when she feels the direction in your stride, you won't need to chase her attention. Your purpose will speak louder than any message ever could. And in that silence, we unlock the kind of tension that creates real desire. Let's go there next. Reason number 7. Stillness creates tension. Tension creates desire. She doesn't lose interest because you're not enough. She loses interest because there's no tension left to keep her engaged. Most men panic at the first sign of distance. She takes a little longer to reply, and suddenly you're filling the silence with reassurance. Long texts, thoughtful emojis, over-explanations. You're trying to maintain connection, but what you're really doing is smothering the space where desire is supposed to live. And she feels it. She feels the shift from presence to performance, from leadership to emotional scrambling, and her interest begins to fade. The truth is, women don't fall for men who constantly try to fill the gaps. They fall for the man who holds his ground when things get quiet. The man who doesn't rush to solve the silence, but allows it to speak. Because in stillness, a different kind of energy arises, an emotional tension that makes her lean in, wonder more, and reflect on what you're not saying. That tension is not manipulation, it's gravity. It's the energetic pull of a man who doesn't flinch just because her attention isn't as immediate. Most men interpret silence as rejection, but a grounded man sees it for what it is, a moment of contrast, a space to recalibrate, a mirror that reveals more about her than it does about him. And when he doesn't react, when he remains steady, he becomes the anchor in her emotional storm. She may test him, but the moment he refuses to chase, she starts to question her own assumptions. She begins to feel that familiar tug. Why isn't he reacting? Why does he feel so calm when I'm uncertain? That curiosity becomes the seed of deeper desire. Your stillness makes her feel something. Not because you're distant, but because you're not desperate. You're not trying to convince her. You're not seeking permission to stay. You're not proving your worth. You've already claimed it. That level of self-possession is rare, and she knows it. She feels it in your pauses, in your restraint, in the way you don't immediately fold just because the emotional tone changed. Let her wrestle with your calm. Let her sit in the unknown. You don't need to punish her with silence. You need to honor yourself with patience. There's a difference. You're not playing a game. You're holding a standard. You're giving her the space to reflect on her own behavior instead of rewarding distance with more pursuit. That's how tension is preserved. That's how masculine energy creates a container strong enough to hold feminine emotion. And when you master that, when you stop reaching and start radiating, something powerful happens. She begins to miss you, not because you disappeared, but because your presence lingers. You didn't flood her with messages, but your absence carries weight. You didn't beg for connection, yet she starts craving the grounded energy only you offered. And it all began with a simple choice. You chose stillness over reaction. That's the energy that builds anticipation. That's the mystery that draws her closer, not with noise, but with depth. Because the man who doesn't flinch doesn't just hold her attention, he earns her respect. And when respect leads, desire follows. Which brings us to the final shift, the difference between the man who gets chosen and the man who makes her rise to meet him. Let's walk into that next. Reason number 8. Don't be the prize she wins. Be the path she earns. You've been trying to prove yourself, over-delivering, over-explaining, initiating every conversation, carrying the emotional weight. You give more, hoping she finally sees your value. You think if you just show her how good you are, she'll stay, she'll change, she'll love you back the same way. But that's not how real attraction works. Not in the long term, because the men women chase, they don't pitch their worth, they live it. They don't try to impress, they express, quietly, confidently. Their actions speak, their boundaries speak, their absence speaks louder than their presence ever did. You're not supposed to be the reward she gets at the end of her indecision. You're not a trophy she wins after you've bent over backward to prove your loyalty. You are the path, the standard, and if she wants to walk beside you, she needs to earn it. Not because you want to punish her, but because if you don't protect your identity, no one else will. The more you try to win her, the more she questions your worth. The more she has to win you, the more she feels your worth. Stop initiating everything. Let her earn your attention. Let her wonder where she stands with you. Let her feel that your energy is not something she's entitled to, but something she has to rise toward. You don't have to be cold. You have to be centered. This isn't about withholding affection. It's about not giving it away so easily that it loses meaning. The truth is, when you become a man who's trying to be chosen, you stop being the man who chooses. So the next time you feel the urge to overgive, remember this. She's not supposed to complete your story. She's supposed to qualify to be a part of it. Don't be the prize she wins. Be the path she earns. And when you live like that, you don't just attract her attention, you command her respect. And that changes everything. Absolutely, brother. If you've made it this far, then you already know the truth most men never get to hear. What we've walked through together isn't just a dating strategy, it's a shift in identity. It's the difference between a man who gives everything just to be seen and a man who knows he doesn't need to chase what he can attract by presence alone. You might recognize yourself in these patterns: the overgiver, the oversharer, the over-apologizer. Maybe you've lived your life being the nice guy, hoping that consistency and kindness would earn you love. But here's the hard truth I needed someone to tell me years ago. Being nice doesn't make you high value. Being grounded does. Being respectful with a backbone does. Being kind without self-abandonment does. Women don't pull away because you're good. They pull away because you've given everything without asking if it was deserved. They're not bored because you're stable. They're bored because you've become predictable, emotionally overexposed, and too available to be respected. This is the part where your transformation begins. The high-value man doesn't need to prove his worth. He lives it. He doesn't collapse in silence. He commands presence in it. He doesn't beg for validation. He respects himself enough to walk away when something isn't reciprocal. He leads with clarity, not with emotional need. He gives slowly. He loves with strength. He builds a life with purpose so loud that his energy speaks before he even says a word. So if you've been ghosted, overlooked, or constantly friend-zoned, I want you to stop asking, "Why don't they choose me?" and start asking, "Why am I making them the prize?" This isn't about bitterness. This is about reclaiming your edge, rediscovering the part of you that doesn't need to be chosen to be powerful, that doesn't need approval to be steady, that doesn't disappear in silence but grows stronger in it. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment you become the man they can't ignore. And that's where everything starts to shift. Keep walking forward. You've just remembered who you are. If this message stirred something deep inside you, don't just scroll past. Pause, breathe, let it sink in. Like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station. Then, drop a comment below and tell me where you really stand. Are you done overgiving, done performing, ready to stop chasing, and finally start becoming the man she can't ignore? I read every single word, not just to reply, but to connect. This isn't about shame. It's about awakening, about remembering who you are. So now ask yourself, will you rise or will you keep waiting to be chosen? The choice is yours.